So, for the first topic, I wanted to talk about gun control. In general, not American gun control. Now, I've got to say right now, this isn't me being an activist. This is not me trying to change any laws. This is me trying to pick a reasonably relevant, ongoing issue and to basically bounce ideas of it. I've chosen this one for, well, I'll start first by just saying that I haven't ever owned a gun or any sort of firearm. I've handled them when I was in the tea. Obviously, the first video I put on was me nearly blowing my head off. So I'm not scared of them like a lot of people might be. I wouldn't hesitate to handle one of it. If the necessity came, I would know how to make it safe and what have you. I've no great desire to get a license for one. I've no great desire to own one in the house. It would be just too much faff. I would need to have a gun safe and ammo safe. All of this malarkey. I would need to pay for joining a range. It's just too much faff. But that is more or less my current association with firearms. The current issue I wanted to talk about, I got the idea to talk about for a few reasons. It was actually a bit of nostalgia because this was one of the first issues I took an interest in. Way back in the day when I just started visiting reality-based combatives and self-defense forums on the internet, which were frequented by a lot of people who worked in personal and private security, and of course a lot of people. They weren't all from the UK on this forum, and a lot of them went armed and were quite attached to their right to be armed. So obviously they had a lot of pro-gun arguments, and of course the British contingent had a lot of anti-gun arguments, and so it was sort of one of my first debates, and it was so I figured it would be nice to make my first sort of self-debate video on it. So I'm looking forward to it. The other one is obviously there's a lot of prejudice against guns in England, deservedly so, because let's face it, like there's not much more. You can say cars are more dangerous, and you can say smoking kills more people than guns at the end of the day. But you get into a car to go somewhere, and you light up a cigarette to, I don't know, whatever. I mean, I do smoke a pipe. You've probably seen it lying on the desk here. But at the end of the day, if you've got a gun, that gun was put on this planet to damage things. That even if you say, well, I just shoot targets, I goes, yeah, but you damage the target by shooting it. It's there to cause damage. And I know a lot of people will say that that they've never hurt anybody with a gun, and that's very true. A lot of people say their guns are completely safe, but at the end of the day, you're not taking away another purpose by taking away a gun. Unless you come, obviously, self-protection and just make a few things easier. But at the end of the day, it's there to put holes in things. So this is all by the by. The fact of the matter is because of we have very stringent laws. We've always had fairly strict laws over here, and this has happened in a few countries. I've noticed. We had a horrible shooting. It was in. Well, I won't go into details. I don't think anybody wants to hear about that. But it was a lot of school kids and a school teacher, and the government basically dropped a bag of hammers on gun ownership, and small blame to them. Then Then Australia did that too, and this is all a roundabout way of saying that a lot of people find it very easy to not think about gun ownership. So it's it's sort of the situation in England promotes lazy thinking on gun ownership, because you're likely never to see one in your life. It is very possible in England to be born, to live, and to die and never see a gun anywhere but on the telly. I recall I went to Canada, and I sort of got caught giving a policeman a second look, and I'm just saying I says, I do feel slightly odd just seeing a fella just carrying a gun around like that. He goes, well, he's a policeman. I says, well, yeah, I know. He says, well, don't the police in England have guns? I'm like, not normally, no. And he was shocked. So it's easy just to fall back on the overarching opinion in Britain that guns bad, don't have them. And I again don't want to change that. I just like to. I was attracted by the possibility to look at unlooked facts. Generally, you have to look to America because they're the ones having the big debate that rages constantly, and unfortunately, they've started. I say they've started for years. Politicians have been involved, and somebody will take away a certain gun, and somebody will put it back in. And there's certain states, if you try to do anything with the gun laws, either make them more accessible or less accessible, then it just depends on it can get people into office and that, and that's I find that ridiculous. So what I'll try and do is just to show you that there's two sides to every tale, two sides to every argument, is I'm going to sit here and I'm going to try and like rack up a bunch of arguments for gun ownership and against ownership, and then maybe try and make them meet in the middle. I might do a video just on America, because American gun laws deserve a video in and of themselves. They do. It is interesting to see, to me, when I sit here and think about it, just the polar opposite attitude that two countries that we even speak the same language, we've got the same first language, we get on with each other. You know, both countries have intelligent people. Both are first world countries. We've got a reasonably good standard of living, and in Britain, the vast majority of people hate guns, and in America, I would say I wouldn't like to say most, but at least a very sizable majority, a very sizable minority, if not a majority of people, feel that they have not a need but a right to guns. And you can say, yeah, the Second Amendment says they have the right to bear arms. I'm not disputing that. Obviously, I believe there's things that you can do that forfeits that right, but that's a rabbit hole I'm not going to go down into just yet. The attitude in England, just to give you an idea what I'm talking about here, is I remember a friend of mine who used to go shooting, and he came to a similar conclusion to me about gun ownership, in that it's just too much faff. They started bringing in laws that was going to make it financially untenable. He would have to have gun safes, ammunition safes, enough licenses to fill a phone book. But when he did used to go shooting, This would be quite a while ago now. He's an older gentleman. He went up to Holy Island on weekend with his friends. They came back and he took all the guns to his house to clean them. And somebody just walking down and looked in his window, saw a load of guns lying on his living room carpet, and was that dismayed by the sight that they phoned the police, and the police had to come around, and they came around pretty quick. And that is something in England, to be honest. I don't know what it was like back in the 70s, but the police wouldn't even come round my place when somebody wrote me car off on the drive in front. But the police were there fairly briskly, asking to see these guns that had been seen through the window. And when he showed them, obviously he had no trouble to show them, they're all legal. The policeman said, well, you need an armory if you've got that many guns. You need a room with a metal door and bars on the window. And he's like, they're literally going to be here overnight. And he says, well, say that's all they're here for. And there was more to that story, but I won't tell it. So, yeah. So this is essentially, I'm gonna try and pick through this. And I've made a few starts at this video, but it's very difficult to put my words in order. I just go off into rabbit holes and stories and stuff. And again, like I said, this is not a subject, even though it's an aloof subject from me, because I am rather content with British gun laws. There was a time when I questioned them a little bit for no other reason than like I like to question things and I think should be questioned. And I did ponder if the gun laws in England changed, if there would be any sort of detrimental effect, which is to say, would more people get shot and would more people get robbed at gunpoint? Which neither things happen very much in the UK. So this is going to be me trying to put that into words, basically. Let's just say I suddenly found a country. Let's just say I've had off a stand or something. I don't know. And I've suddenly got to make a lot of executive decisions. And how would I go about deciding what those decisions should be? So yeah, let's get started, I suppose.